Okay, so welcome back. Now I'm going to show you the table of common for cosine and sine. So these are the common angles. These are the ones you should know. You should memorize these. Okay. So knowing this is going to be important. It's going to make life easier because again, these come up a lot. Okay. So some of you are going to just memorize these just by the fact that you're just going to see them over and over again and be using them over and over again, or deriving them over and over again, okay? But now I'm going to show you how to use a calculator too. Now, to find cosine of 5 pi over 3, you could do it directly, but just by thinking about the angle, right? Well, what is this? Well, this is what? Well, it's 5 pi over 3, obviously, but if you think about it, this is almost a full revolution. This is, if it was 6 pi over 3, it'd be a full revolution around the circle, 2 pi, right? So it's actually, if you think about it, it's 1/3 pi from a whole circle, from one revolution. So that means, if you think about it, if we just think about it in our mind's eye, a circle, right? We've got the unit circle. And so we're almost around, we're basically out here, right? And we're 1/3 of an angle. So what, pi over 3 is our angle. So, or we could look at it as negative pi over 3, okay? Which means it's a 60-degree angle. So our reference angle here is 60 degrees. And so cosine of 60-degree reference angle is what? Well, it's opposite over hypotenuse. And so we know the cosine of a 60-degree angle is what? It's what? Oops, 1/2. So we know that this should be 1/2. Okay? Now, how do we do this in the calculator? Well, all you do is you put in, oops, let me do this. Let me clear out of this. Is you stick it in your calculator, something like that. And so again, you just, now if I hit enter, what do I get? Oh, wait a minute. That's not 1/2. Well, I know that's right. Well, what happened? Well, let's check something. I'm going to go to the mode and notice that the mode my calculator is on degrees. I've got degrees highlighted. Okay, so make sure, because the angle here is measured in radians, make sure that your calculator is in radians, not degrees. Okay? Now, let's go back before I change it to radian. What if I put in, instead of this, what if I put in 60 degrees? So if I put in cosine of 60, so I put in cosine of 60, I get 1/2. Okay? Or what about cosine, what about cosine of, this would be actually, if I say 5 pi over 3, that's cosine of what? It's going to be 300 degrees. So if I put in 300, look at that. I get the same thing. Okay, so let's go back to mode and let's put it into radians. Okay, and now it's in radians. Now I'm going to do now I've got my cosine of 5 pi over 3, and look at that, I get 1/2. Okay, so it works. Okay, now, a couple things. If your calculator doesn't have the ability to go from degrees to radians, let's say your calculator is in degrees, right? And you need to change this, so this is in radians, and you can't change it to radians. So you need to change this to degrees. Let's say your calculator only does degrees. Well, what you would do is inside here, inside the argument, is you would put the conversion factor, the unit ratio, right, for converting from radians to degrees. So here's what I would do. So basically what you would do is inside the parentheses you would have 5 pi over 3 times what? Well, we know that we want degrees, right? We want to cancel out the radians. Okay, so that means what? 180 degrees for pi radians, right? So we would use that conversion factor okay, to change this to degrees, okay? And then you would just put in your calculator like this. So if I okay, so I would put it in something like that. And I would use parentheses just to make sure that I'm multiplying things correctly. And then that would give me it in degrees. And vice versa. What if I had something that was like 20 degrees and my calculator only does radians? So I would have to convert it to radians, and so I would have pi divided by 180 instead of 180 divided by pi. Okay? So again, practice with that. Play around with it. Take care.